Frankfort Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Today is January 24th, and ask our city clerk to call for the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Present.
Commissioner Thompson,
Present.
Commissioner May,
Present.
Commissioner Unger,
Present.
Mayor Wilkerson.
And I'm present, and we do have a quorum. And now go to first action item, or first item on the agenda, citizens' comments. City clerk, if you wouldn't mind to lead us off on that.
Yes, sir, I can do that. Okay. Over the past few months, I have presented concerns to the Commission on why chickens should not be allowed in the city limits, and they include health exposure, impacts on HOAs, legal issues, enforcement, and signed petition, of which 90% of those who signed do not want chickens in the city. I have two additional concerns. One is we are in the middle of a pandemic that seemingly will be a long time before it ends. This is bad enough that the Commission opts to meet virtually. This to me is appalling that the Commission would vote to accept the amended ordinance. Secondly, I sent an email to the mayor, each commissioner, and city attorney saying the issue can be placed on a ballot for public voting per the county clerk. The Commission could vote to have this done. I have received no response from anyone. Tonight, I urge you to postpone this acceptance of the amended ordinance and vote to have it placed on the ballot in May. Regards, Earl Burton. Greetings, Commissioners and Mayor Wilkerson. Over the past year, I have been fortunate enough to be able to work with Eric Cockley, Jason Miller, and a variety of Frankfort citizens to help draft the chicken ordinance that you all will be considering in January. I can tell you with confidence that every word in the draft ordinance is the best effort of all parties to protect our healthy and resilient neighborhoods while supporting sustainable and vibrant goals of more progressive individuals. I would remind you that the State Journal conducted an extensive poll on this topic. An overwhelming majority of the respondents voted in favor of allowing backyard chickens, and only a few thought the issue should be considered in a referendum. The standards contained in this ordinance are meaningful, enforceable, and practical on every level. I urge you to pass this ordinance today. Sincerely, James Hale. Please pass the chicken ordinance. Chickens provide many benefits. Eggs, companionship, and educational opportunities are but a few of those. Many towns and cities allow chickens and have noticed no detrimental effects. This is an easy win for the commissioners and the city. Carrie Williams. I'm writing this note in support of the proposed chicken ordinance to allow backyard chickens. Please pass this ordinance today. Jackson Williams Hale. Vote yes to chickens. They are no noisier than dogs. Ethan Williams Hale. I support the backyard chicken ordinance. Please vote yes. Katie Doyle. I support the chicken ordinance and would appreciate your consideration. Jen. I support the chicken ordinance. Please vote yes. Robin Hayes. I would like to voice my support for the chicken ordinance and urge the City Commission to vote yes. I believe it's a natural companion to the choice and ability to garden and grow fruits or vegetables in one's yard. It can provide additional sources of food for individuals and families and foster community with the sharing of extra yields. Given some of the recent shortages and supply chain issues we've been seeing at the large grocery stores, this seems like the perfect time to pass this ordinance. Thank you for your consideration. Jennifer Lopez. Chickens should definitely be allowed within city limits as well as within the county. Chickens eat bugs, which help with the pest control, contribute to healthy gardens, as well as produce affordable, healthy proteins for community members. Chickens aren't any more of a nuisance than a garden and make much less noise than barking dogs. I would urge a strong vote of yes for chickens. Bethany Ford. Please let us keep chickens. Mike Massey. Please vote in favor of passing the urban chicken ordinance. Leslie W. I support the chicken ordinance and please pass it today. Thank you, Katie Doyle. I'm in full support of the ordinance. Aaron Ford. I think it's very important to allow citizens to keep and maintain chickens on their property. This promotes self-sustainability and reduces carbon footprint. Bridget Rice. Vote yes to urban chickens. Allow citizens to better access food resources in an age of shortages. It is childish and petty we continue to debate such a simple issue. Amy Mitchell. Yes to chickens. This type of government oversight is tyranny and keeps the city behind. If we want to keep up with Lexington and Louisville, we need to offer basic equivalencies like chickens. They have been commonplace for years. Those in opposition, dictatorial and akin to Stalinist demagogues. Sorry, I probably mispronounced that. Steve Mitchell. Please support this ordinance, the chicken ordinance making Frankfort more welcoming for urban homesteaders. Teresa Johnson. I would like to support the chicken ordinance for Frankfort, Franklin County. I feel like it is a very beneficial service to our community. Aaron Ford. Allowing people to have chickens in smaller neighborhoods that are food deserts will help fox the inequality that exists. Tom Calmer. This is the last one, but it's a link. Well, actually I have two more. This one's a lengthy one, so bear with me here. There are a lot of weird and strange things people do on their own property that I may not condone. A consequence of living in a free society is that people might express their freedom in ways that others find offensive. There's an old adage that talks about how one person's rights end when they infringe on the rights of others. If I want to have chickens in my backyard, it's my business, especially if I'm being responsible. There are people who walk their dogs in the neighborhood with poop bags on the ready, and there are other dog owners who allow their dogs to mess in other people's yards. This is where consequences for being irresponsible comes into play. There are some people who imagine end-of-days scenarios based on the worst-case chicken owner scenarios. No doubt there are people who will allow fear to drive their desire to crush the dream of raising backyard chickens. These people will let this irrational fear be the determining factor in stopping Frankfort from doing something that civilized people have done for thousands of years. I thought it was ironic to see a person in South Frankfort with a picture of their historic house from the 18th century. What do you know? There were chickens back then. We can't pretend it was never a thing in Frankfort because it certainly was. According to the latest estimates from the CDC, backyard chickens hospitalized 273 and killed 2 with salmonella. 1,135 sick in 2021, including 268 under the age of 5. One of the problems with the CDC's own data is they don't differentiate between turkey, ducks, geese, and chickens people own. As a result, their own information isn't accurate as far as making the determination on which type of birds were actually responsible for these numbers. In addition, there isn't any differentiation between people who have gotten sick from birds that are already natural to the environment, like cardinals or robins. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that 100% of these numbers were from backyard chickens only. The U.S. is a country with over 330 million people. The ratio of people available compared to the ratio of people who become seriously ill or die from backyard chickens wouldn't register as statistically significant. I understand if the people and families affected disagree with my take, but life is all about measured risk assessment. The trusted FDA allows so much rat feces, spider eggs, and bugs to go into foods we normally consume on a daily basis. The reasoning for this is that it wouldn't be reasonable to cut down all of those undesired ingredients totally without a severe cost. Being alive by default means to accept risk. Successful people in business are successful from taking risks and not playing it safe. Any of our elected officials who vote against having backyard chickens are likely doing so based on fear-mongering devoid of logic and reason. They can't vote against backyard chickens in one breath and next tell us they want Frankfort to join the 21st century. We often find ourselves lagging behind surrounding counties just to be holding the bag later on. We scratch our heads in Frankfort and wonder why we can't grow. To me, it's common sense from the perspective, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. As of right now, Ashland, Glasgow, Moorhead, Alexandria, E-Town, Pikeville, Paducah, Bowling Green, Owensboro, Louisville, and Lexington have ordinances to allow backyard chickens. I wonder how many members of this Board of Commissioners has actually done the research to come to their decision logically versus making a decision based on how people feel. If they had even bothered to get in touch with the Lexington Health Department, they would have found out there have been 0 reported illnesses or deaths in Lexington as a result of anyone owning backyard chickens. If any of the members of the Board of Commissioners vote no under the guise of if one life is worth saving, I will tell you they are spineless cowards in this regard. More people have died in Frankfort from car accidents than have died in the whole state from backyard chickens. If saving one life is their goal, ban cars within city limits. More people have died from fentanyl overdoses in Frankfort than people have died from backyard chickens. Where is the ordinance to ban syringes from being sold? People have been stabbed to death in Frankfort, so where's the ordinance to restrict the sales of knives? For what we know for a fact, it is that our supply chain isn't stable. Affording people the opportunity to meet their own needs allows for far more dignity than a dependency model that so many people believe in these days. The more local the economy, the more the local economy thrives. The more self-sufficient people are, the less they need to rely on corporations to provide their needs. I'm urging the Board of Commissioners to make a decision that's based on logic, statistics, facts, and reason. Based on these prerequisites, there is no reason for the Board of Commissioners to deny the people the opportunity to become more independent. Please vote yes to approve backyard chickens in Frankfort and don't kick this can down the road. And that's from Delvin Asofifa. Please pass the ordinance allowing chickens within the Frankfort city limits. If Frankfort wants to attract and or retain younger citizens, it has got to get with the times on this and so many other issues. Jonathan Burns. And that wraps it up.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioner Watridge.
I just wanted to ask, I'm not sure who this question is going to, but in Mr., I think it was Earl Burton, which I think was your first comment person, he had said there was like 90 names on some list or something of people that didn't want chickens. Has that been given to someone in the city? I haven't seen 90 names anywhere. And he had mentioned that he had emailed us and that no one had responded back. However, I have a email from Mr. Burton on May 30th at 3:02 and at 3 o'clock, and I responded back to his email on May 30th at 3:02. I also responded back to his response to me again at 3 on the same date at 3:19. He then reached back out to me on December 14th, and I responded back on December 14th at 4:18. And so he has been in communication, I know, with me as far as replying back. I know he said no one had responded. So I did want to clear that up, that I have been in touch with him. But I wanted to know about those 90 names that he said was on a list. I looked over his email and I don't see any attachments here. Has there been any list given to anyone in the city that maybe I've overlooked if you've emailed me?
Commissioner, I've not received any petition or any list, nor through our citizen comments, so I've not received any.
Is that the same for the mayor?
I don't recall seeing anything, and is this a good point or should we wait till we get to the discussion of the ordinance to talk about the referendum, or whether or not we can even do a referendum? City Attorney.
I prefer, I'd like to talk about the referendum issue, but I prefer that we wait until the actual discussion of the ordinance, if that's okay.
Does anybody else have any discussion on that can't wait till we talk about the ordinance, Commissioner May?
Just for the record, sorry. I don't know if it was 90 people or if the citizens' comment was 90%. Either way, I know conversation was, did we see anything? And I'm in agreement, but just wanted, I think it was, maybe the individual said 90%, not necessarily 90 people.
Okay, thank you for that clarity, Commissioner May.
So,
I may have missed that.
Absolutely. But yeah, I haven't seen that either.
City Clerk, you want to add something?
I was just going to say that he did say it was a signed petition of which 90% of those who signed do not want chickens in the city. 90%.
Okay, so we don't have anything that shows what 90% of a list of anything. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Unger?
Okay, I just want to add one more thing. To Mr. Burton, he did send an email on January 3rd of this year. It went to my spam folder, so I think it went to everyone's spam folder, and I just realized this afternoon. So sorry about that, Mr. Burton. That's why you did not get a response. So I sent that to our IT person, and hopefully your emails will be going to our inboxes.
Thank you, Lisa, on that. I did receive 2 other emails as I stated those dates, but I will definitely go back and check on that one as well, because some of our emails are doing that. So thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next. Thank you for the citizens' comments. We will take that under consideration, of course. Next item on the agenda, we have a presentation. We have a special 50th anniversary presentation to the Kentucky Humanities Council, and I believe we have Mr. Bill Goodman on the line. How are you doing, Mr. Goodman?
I'm fine, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for having us participate in your meeting.
Well, we appreciate you being here. As they say, I'm a long time, first time. I've seen your show many times, but we've never had an first time meeting you either virtually or in person. So it's an honor. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, sir. The honor is mine.
Well, the City of Frankfort has a proclamation, and I'd like to, I will start by saying, whereas the Kentucky Humanities Council, an independent nonprofit affiliate organization of the National Endowment for the Humanities, was established in 1972, and whereas Kentucky Humanities is devoted to bringing humanities programs to communities across the Commonwealth and recognizes the need to build civic engagement, promote literacy for all ages, honor the history, literature, philosophy, and values by which we live in all Kentucky towns, including the city of Frankfort. And whereas Kentucky Humanities is dedicated to telling Kentucky's story because we can all learn from stories of others that, when taken together, shape our communities, our counties, our regions, and our unique Kentucky culture and heritage. And whereas Kentucky Humanities has assumed the management of the Kentucky Book Fair, now called the Kentucky Book Festival, the long-running and premier book festival in the state of Kentucky, now celebrating its 40th year. Therefore, I, Lane Wilkerson, Mayor of the City of Frankfort, Kentucky, do hereby recognize and congratulate Kentucky Humanities for 50 years of service to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and Franklin County and Frankfort. Today, Kentucky Humanities' 50th anniversary. Congratulations, and we will get you the official framed document there, Mr. Goodman.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing us to participate in your meeting today. It's an honor to represent Kentucky Humanities, where, as the mayor said, we've been telling Kentucky stories for 50 years with your support throughout your city and county and across this great Commonwealth that we live in. We will continue to tell Kentucky's story for another 50 years. And this is the first of many proclamations and resolutions, but it could not come to a better city and a better county and a better group of people than to be with you in person, virtually, to say thank you very much for the honor. We indeed sincerely appreciate the effort.
We thank you, and can't tell Kentucky's story without the capital city. So on behalf of the capital city, our biggest thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Goodman. And we also have another ceremonial item on the agenda tonight. We have an upcoming retirement. And do we have, is Sharon on the line? No. How about I read it?
That would be great.
Is Sharon watching? Do we know? Hi, Sharon, if you're out there. We have a proclamation for you, and I'll start by saying, whereas Sharon Ganot has been a dedicated employee of the city of Frankfort, serving for more than 17 years. And whereas Sharon has offered her dedication, loyalty, friendship for everyone at the city of Frankfort. And whereas Sharon is a faithful wife to her husband, Dave, and a supportive, loving mother to her children, Cynthia, Jim, Joe, and other extended family. And whereas Sharon will be greatly missed by all who she has influenced through her years of service. And it is the sincere wish of everyone that the future be filled with plenty of time to enjoy spending time with her family. Therefore, I, Lane Wilkerson, City of Frankfort, announce today Sharon Ganot Day. Yay.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will say that we really do appreciate Sharon's service. And I can say without a doubt, every day she has a positive attitude and a big smile, and we will certainly miss that.
And thanks for taking all those calls for us, Sharon.
Yes, thank you. She's such a wonderful woman and such an asset to our city, and just a smile and so much dedication from her. And so we will definitely miss her. So, but I wish her well.
Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mayor, and echo the words of Commissioner Walters and everybody else. I just want to say, in a time of uncertainty, continuity is key, and it's always very nice to walk into on the occasions that we do go in person, to have that wonderful, uplifting energy and smiling face, and always there being professional and representing this city, and therefore its community members as well as you do. Just, I wish you nothing but the happiness, and I always want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for caring about this community the way you have, and making everybody's job a little bit easier while you were there. And I hope that your job gets a little bit easier and you enjoy your retirement. You deserve it. Thank you.
Well said. Any other discussion or any input on this? We'll go on to the next item on the agenda, the consent calendar. I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Have a number of items on our consent calendar. Number one is the minutes from the special meeting on December 1st, 2021, the special meeting on December 6th, 2021, the work session on December 13th, 2021, the special meetings on December 15th and 16th, 2021, and the regular meeting on December 20th, 2021. Second item up is a contract amendment for the downtown reinvestment grants at 311 St. Clair Street. This is just merely to, the company has changed its name, and we need to update that on the contract, and they've asked for a small extension till February 28th, 2022 to complete the work. This has no budget impact. Next up on item number 3, staff is asking for approval for a contract with Designing Local, who competed for the city's RFP to create new design standards, which will be known as the Special Capital Design Guidelines, which will mainly impact South Frankfort. The city did conduct outreach on creating these new design guidelines, which will complement the recently completed Central Business District and Special Historic District guidelines. Number 4 on the consent calendar is staff requesting approval for a professional services agreement with Cornerstone Engineering, for $39,053.70. The work with Cornerstone will provide structural design bidding services to repair structural elements and replace the sidewalk there around the McClure building. I know the board has seen how the sidewalk's been blocked off for quite some time now. And particularly when we had the water main break last fall, this further damaged the beams, columns below the sidewalk, which had already actually experienced some damage due to some previous water infiltration. This engineering work will give us a really good estimate of cost for repairing this, as well as helping us to sort out the responsibility for the city and the owners of the McClure building. And we will tap into our municipal aid account to pay for this. So staff is requesting approval to enter in this agreement. Number 5 on the consent calendar, staff is seeking approval to purchase mainline camera van and mobile portable camera unit for $353,480. What we are purchasing now will allow our sewer department to camera larger interceptors and not contracted out, as well as the camera van will be replacing an aging van from 2011. By law, we are required to camera parts of our collection system each year, and this was budgeted in our capital improvements plan. Item number 6 is our personnel actions. The appointment of Anthony Catani at the police department on January 4th, 2022, Patrol Officer 1. The appointment of Jarrett Hyatt in the police department on January 4th, 2022 as Patrol Officer 1. And the appointment of Madison Perrier, Police Department, January 4th, 2022 as Patrol Officer 1. We also have the appointment of Jeremy Magruder, Public Works Solid Waste, on January 18th, 2022 as a Tech 1. The appointment of Zach Barker in the Parks and Recreation Department on February 1st, 2022 as a Parks and Rec Supervisor. We also recognize the retirement of Sharon Ganote, City Manager, on January 31st, 2022 as an administrative aide and authorized payout of accrued leave. We are also accepting the resignation of Chris Marston in the Sewer Department on January 14th, 2022 as a Sewer Tech 1 and authorized payout of accrued leave. Also accepting the resignation of Tyler Owens from the Police Department on January 13th, 2022 as Patrol Officer 2 and authorized payout of accrued leave.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve the consent calendar. Second. Clerk, will you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May, Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
And yes. And we do have 4 votes, so it carries. In that motion, we do adopt the consent calendar. And guess we can move on. Still have a quorum. Board appointments.
My apologies, had a little technical issue there.
We adopted the consent calendar, so hope that's okay. Okay, now we'll move on to board appointments. Civil Service Board for Fire, Police and Fire, reappointment of Corey Bellamy, expiring February 28, 2024.
Move to approve.
Motion
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve reappointment of Corey Belly and a second by Commissioner, was that Commissioner May or Thompson?
Thompson.
Thompson, okay.
Sorry.
Any discussion on this reappointment?
It's a great appointment. He's been doing a great job, and Corey's a really great guy and a great community member.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, or we ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
And I vote yes, so thank you, Corey, and thanks for continuing on the board. Next, we have another Civil Service Board for Police and Fire, the appointment of D'Andrea Hampton, who will be replacing Raymond Carter for the term expiring February 28th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Motion Commissioner Waters to approve, Second, Commissioner Unger. Is there any discussion on this appointment?
Super excited to see her name on the list, Mayor. I've been talking with her to try to get on a board or get involved in certain things with our city. So I'm super excited that her name has came forward and she's willing to serve. So super excited for her.
So am I. I think she's going to be great. Any other discussion? Okay. Clerk, will you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that appointment carries. And thank you for both applicants for either starting or continuing on. The next action, well, now we're on to action items. I'll ask the city manager. Would you like to take it from here?
Thank you, Mayor. The city solicitor will read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance amending the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Section 37.12A12, relating to holiday pay and holiday leave. This ordinance amends Section 37.12A12 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, which establishes holiday pay and holiday leave to add an additional day to the Christmas holiday.
I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Unger,
Second.
and a second, Commissioner Waldridge. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. City Clerk, will you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries. And action item number 2.
An ordinance rezoning property located on Riley Road with the address of 14 and 16 Riley Road, more specifically described as PBA map numbers 061000072 and 061000070 from General Commercial District to General Industrial District. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the properties with the addresses of 14 and 16 Riley Road, more specifically described as PBA map numbers 061000072 and 061000070 from General Commercial District to General Industrial District.
Motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner May,
Second.
second Commissioner Unger. Is there any discussion on this motion? Zone change. Okay, seeing none and hearing none. City Clerk, will you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries for the zone change. And now action item number 3. Another second reading.
An ordinance amending the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Section 90.07, relating to stockyards, barns, pens for livestock or exotic animals, and adopting a new 90.08 relating to urban backyard chickens. This ordinance amends City of Frankfort Ordinance 90.07 relating to stockyards, barns, pens for livestock or exotic animals to clarify language relating to the agricultural zone exemption and establishes a new section 90.08 governing urban backyard chickens, including requirements for the type and number of birds allowed, standards for housing chickens in a safe and sanitary condition, permitting requirements, and enforcement and penalties for noncompliance.
City Solicitor Ross, I would appreciate, I think we were talking about explaining why this can't be on the ballot.
Thank you, City Manager. I was distracted by my inability to pronounce the word animal. So basically, I did look into this for you all. I know that was a question of community concern. You all have a memo on the topic. Just so that the public is aware, state statutes are very, very strict on what can be taken to an official election ballot. Usually it's reserved for items of public concern that are have a lot of magnitude for the community. So it would be things like changing specific tax rates, annexing property, changing your form of government, things like that. So unfortunately, chickens are not one of the items that are specifically addressed by statute for placing on the ballot. So that is why we are not able to place that option before you all.
Yes, Commissioner Waldridge.
Well, okay. So Ms. Ross, so the closest thing that we could get to having this on any type of ballot would be accepting the proposal that you sent to the commission a few days ago, or last week, I think it was, that you and Ms. Haig had sent to us, and stating that we could put this on, frankly speaking, and allow Ms. Blair Hecker to monitor that, to hope that no one double, I guess, votes on this, and that could be our actual voting rather than a ballot, but we can give the community that option to log in to make that an official vote if we want it.
Frankly speaking, yes, that was one option I gave you all. I know that we can't do this official vote, but we do have the option of, frankly speaking, available for any matter that you all would like to get public input on. Blair could probably answer questions much better than I can. I hate to put her on the spot, but regarding, frankly speaking, and how that works and what that might look like. But that is an option if you wanted to poll public opinion.
Commissioner May?
I just want to say on that talking point, I would have concerns about that, because the access to, if you're doing a poll, you would have to make sure that it's accessible to the same accessibility. So for me to take the poll as citizens, I would want to see it, actually on the ballot, which we're being told is not able per KRS 83A.120 and KRS 65.012. I think it could be not necessarily a fair representation of the voting opinion if you only have access to one certain way in which you can vote. So if it can't be set up for a public vote, or, I would be sitting here assuming that you would want to vote on it the same way you would have, a vote on an election. I just have a hard time with that one.
We still don't have a motion on this.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this second reading.
Second.
And a second, Commissioner May. Now we can have any discussion on the ordinance. I will say on the polls, I am obviously, I want to hear what our constituents say. The polls, I do worry that if it's based on per email address, I could probably vote 4 or 5 times with various emails. I guess other people could too. It wouldn't be a scientific poll, is what I'm saying. And as somebody mentioned earlier, a local news outlets poll. I mean, I don't know if they're not scientific, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not sure that we can go by that exclusively, but we can go by what we hear from people. I think from my standpoint, it's been pretty even. I feel like lately there have been more pro for this ordinance than against lately from the emails I've received. But there's a big concern, and I want to be for this, because this is something that I think that I don't want to tell people what they can or can't do in their yards, but it is something that will take city resources. It's going to take staffing. It's going to involve our planning and zoning department. Right now, there's no, we don't really have there's no limit on how many people could apply to have them. Not that I'm aware of. So there could be, I think it's just going to be a few people in the community that do this based on what I'm seeing or hearing, but who knows? I mean, we could have hundreds of people that want to do this, and we would be stretched, is what I'm saying on this. That's from my standpoint, that's a big concern that I have is that we still have to keep up with our current ordinances and our current code enforcement. And I think we could always be doing better job at that. So if we add on more work there, that's something we need to consider. And I'm not sure that we haven't considered that yet in a budget. How about that? Commissioner May?
And I understand that, Mayor. Thank you. I think for me, the thing that I feel great about voting for this one is that if the reminder of just passing an ordinance doesn't mean that everybody gets to go out and start buying their chickens. There's still a process in place. And so before you go and decide to get your chicken wire or get your chicken coop or get your chickens, remember the first step is getting the approval from the city. And so you have to go through that process. And then therefore, I feel like we have staff and through the community involvement, through the community panel and discussions that Mr. Cockley has helped, run and the help of everybody at city staff. I feel like everybody's done a really great job of mitigating the response time by ensuring that if you're doing what you have got to do per the ordinance and per the legality in place, we will in turn reduce the amount of staff time that is coming through and response on it. So I think that's just really important to keep in mind that and I don't know if we're explaining the vote process, but for me that's where I'm at with it. I feel like we've done the due diligence to get something that will reduce the staff time, because I feel like the staff time has been put in front of the issue so that we've set up an ordinance that allows it to move forward with giving our citizens the opportunity as well to move forward how they feel and protecting ourselves as well. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on called the backyard chicken ordinance? It's not the real, it's longer than that. Any other discussion?
Mayor, may I?
Go ahead, Commissioner Waters.
I just wanted to share, this has really, truly been a long process. It's been long going. It has consumed many hours of our staff over in planning. It's many hours of staff and our legal city manager. It's gone through 2 city managers now. It's just really taking a lot of work and a lot of hours of this. And so much as I am displeased that it can't go on the ballot, because I believe I brought that up at the very start of this chicken conversation. It should be a ballot. To me, there are decisions that I make as a city commissioner, but I'll also feel, I know that I'm not going to have chickens. I don't think anyone around me will have chickens. So I don't think this is going to affect me one way or another, but I really hate to put myself in a situation to where I vote for something and someone becomes ill, or I vote for something and it goes back to what you just shared, Mayor. Do we have the resources to upkeep our ordinances, and upkeep, whether people are fined or all of those things, do we have, right now there's people still complaining there's cars, in people's yards. There is high grass during the summer. That was a huge issue. Do we have enough people to continue doing, to take care of this and do this? Is this going to be a huge priority in our zoning? I don't know if 2 people are going to have chickens or if 20 people are going to have chickens, and having to go out and checking all the fence and all of that. Like it's time consuming for all. But where I'm at now is that, the other day, I know I spoke of that more people have contacted me in regards to not having chickens versus having chickens. But as of today, I'd have to agree with you, Mayor. I think I'm about 50-50 now. After saying that, it seems there was an influx of emails coming from people in the community, wanting chickens. So I'm about 50-50 there. So, I would hate for someone to have a chicken issue and we, the city, not be able to get to them in appropriate time or appropriate manner, that then a homeowner who has purchased the land before there were ever chickens allowed has to be stuck with that until we can do what we need to do to, I guess, recall the chicken, or I don't know what you would say, repo the chickens. I don't know. I don't know. It's just been where I don't feel like that's a vote for the commission to vote with someone that's going to affect someone's property that could cause them ill or cause them to have to smell or deal with chickens. But that's sort of where I'm at. So right now it is 50-50. As the other day, it would have been straight no, because the more people had contacted me by email, by phone and things to say no. But today it's really 50-50.
Commissioner Thompson.
Well, I figured nobody thought I would actually stay quiet on this. I appreciate everything that all of the online comments, all of the citizen comments said. I actually appreciate the fact that the backyard chicken group coalesced and were able to organize and be able to get their word out and what they wanted to get done. And quite honestly, I commend them for that. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a large group or a small group. If you get your word out and you get it out a lot, then it is very viable, if you will. It's a choice that people consider. My position has been and always has been that chickens in the city is not the best choice. I think that there are more than 4 times the amount of space in the county where anyone can move that could have chickens if they wanted to. I think that the fact that from 2009 to 2018, there have been 516 salmonella outbreaks in the U.S., with more than 12,000 illnesses, 1,600 hospitalizations, and 18 deaths. Now, is that a lot? In our world of watching daily death tolls on CNN, it probably doesn't seem like a lot. And quite honestly, when I think it over, I think about the fact that 18 deaths in 11 years, that's not all that many. But I have friends who have histoplasmosis. I have friends who have been injured by handling chickens as children, and that's why I formed my opinion. It's not because I dislike people who like chickens. That's not it at all. And I think I've tried to throughout this entire 11-month process take on the banner of being the guy that doesn't like chicken, so I'll take a picture with every porcelain chicken across the 50 states. I think that chickens are a beginning point, and I worry about when other wild animals just 2 years ago, we had a coyote issue in Frankfort. I worry about that in downtown Frankfort. I worry about our code enforcement folks. Just a month ago, Mr. Cockley, when we were talking about having to enforce whether there was an HOA inclusion of or exclusion of chickens, that would be more work on the enforcement. I think exactly the opposite. I think this is going to add a significant amount more of enforcement costs that we do not see, and maybe it'll be a short-term thing. I don't know. I will say this though. I posted this on social media last weekend. I had a very nice young lady who contacted me. She had contacted me months ago when the issue first came up and tried to change my mind, and we had a spirited discussion. And then she wrote me back this time and shared a fun-loving story about a feisty little chicken that she had, or a baby dove that she had raised or tried to keep alive, and she named that feisty little dove Kyle, which I thought was pretty funny. And I thought that was a great way of talking politics without belittling people or talking bad about them or going on social media and inciting political attacks on anyone. And so I thanked her greatly and asked her if I could share that. I will tell you that I told her and I promised her that I would consider reconsidering my position. My position right now has not changed. However, I will say that my life will go on without backyard chickens being an issue. And in fact, I want it to be voted on so badly I can't even stand it. I want the issue to be over with. If the citizens don't like the backyard chickens and they don't like the work that the board does, every 2 years they get to tell us if we've done a good job or not. So we have spent way too much time on this. I think Mr. Cockley's office has done a yeoman's job of trying to complete this and get this moved forward. It is here. It is time. Let's vote on it. Let's be done with it. Let the chips fall where they may. And then we will see in May what everyone thinks. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other discussion, Commissioner May? Anyone? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
There. I am going to vote yes for chickens. And I want to explain my vote, Mayor, and I'm voting yes because a lot of people have gathered to say that they really want chickens. And this is something that we can give a chance, just like we did East Main Street. If this is something that occurs, then we can always go back and revisit if it becomes overbearing to where we can turn this back around and say that chickens are not allowed in the city. It's something we can go back and change this ordinance at any time. And those that are getting chickens should know that if one or two mess it up for everyone else, that we can always revisit. So I'm going to vote yes, give it a chance and just hope for the best. I'm surprised that I'm voting this way, I will have to say. But I think if they're wanting it, more people should have reached out. They've had well over a year to reach out and voice their opinions. And I could really probably memorize the people that have wanted chickens and not wanted chickens. And I've probably seen more of the people who want chickens visually. and spoken to them on the street. So I'm going to have to vote yes, and then just know due diligence that I will be following up on every single complaint. If there's a complaint, I will be out looking at chickens myself if I have to, and we will make sure that planning and zoning take care of this at any time that there is an issue, and it should be on the front of our list rather than high grass and things of that nature. So I expect us to support it, Mayor. And if this passes, for us to support it and make sure that Eric Cockley and them have the team over there that can take this on. So I'll vote yes now, knowing that it can be changed at any time. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson,
I shall vote no.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Well, I will vote yes. I want to explain my vote. This is something that, you know, I kept coming back to thinking, really, how can I, you know, this is not something, I do not want to own chickens myself, and it's not something I'm passionate about, but I do appreciate those that do. And I do worry that this is going to be extra work for our staff, and we need to, as a commission, we need to take that into consideration when we're looking at our next year's budget. But I also looked at those that are against. You know, there are protections for some of those people. There are areas of town you can live in that homeowners associations where you don't have to be near the chickens. So I do, there are places you can live within the city limits that will protect you from a neighbor having chickens. And then, like Commissioner Thompson also said, we have a lot of areas in the whole county that you can live, that you can raise chickens or be away from others that might have it. So, it's just something I have a hard time telling other people what they can or can't have in their yard. I understand. I appreciate everybody's concerns about the health issues and in the potential noise, everything. I get it. And I do worry that this is if we have too many people, perhaps this will be a problem. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think let's give it a chance, as Commissioner Waldron said, and let's see how it goes. We can always take it back. So I vote yes, and that motion carries. So the ordinance for backyard chickens has passed.
Party at Chick-fil-A after?
Too soon. Too soon. Okay, we will now move on to the next action item. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll have the city solicitor read the ordinance about our just doing a budget amendment so we can accept funds from CDBG to help those in need with their utility bills.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 13, 2021 series, appropriating the revenue to be received by the city of Frankfort for the fiscal year 2021-2022. This ordinance amends ordinance number 13, 2021 series, appropriating the revenue to be received by the city for the fiscal year 2021-22 by adding the following expenditures and transfers as noted. General fund, $776,832, aggregate total. Transfers from general fund, $100,000, aggregate total. Capital improvements, $100,000, aggregate total. And by adding the following revenue, general fund, $215,000, aggregate total.
Motion to approve.
And we have a motion, Commissioner May.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Unger. Any discussion on this action item? Second reading. Okay. Seeing none and hearing none, we'll ask our city clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries. And action item number 5.
Thank you, Mayor. At our work session in January, the Board of Commissioners instructed the staff to revise the proposed lease with the Harrods, which is for 35 acres near the Capitol View Park. You asked us to revise it to 1 year and to take out the renewal options. So we have done that, and that is the lease before you tonight.
Commissioner Waters?
Thank you, Mayor. I was one that definitely spoke up to table this because I wanted to hear all the circumstances and be able to wrap my mind around everything with disc golf and what's going on with this lease and things of that nature. And I will have to say, I've spoken to Mr. Harrod. I've spoken to several people at the Disc Golf Association. I actually set a meeting to go tour the area so I could actually have a visual of it with Mr. Harrod. And I invited Commissioner Unger to ride along with us, and we went and looked at the area. It's a very rough area, terrainal area. It's going to take a lot of work. I don't know what a disc golf area takes, but after speaking with Mr. Harrod, looking at the property and things of that nature, I am still for a disc golf area if able to go in that area. But I also want to sort of backtrack on saying that I wanted a 1-year lease, actually. After speaking with Mr. Harrod, with Commissioner Unger present as well, as we learned that it's easier for him and cheaper for him to keep insurance on the property if he's able to keep a lease for 5 years. And plus, it doesn't have him going back every single year to renew his insurance. And so with that being said, I still support disc golf going in there. However, disc golf isn't going to go in there next month. It's actually probably going to take at least a year for them to figure out everything. And being that the Harrods have been good stewards of the property and removing items from that area, logs and keep it mowed during the summer, I think that the first option that Sean Pickens had was probably the better option, giving insurance and given the opportunities. We do have a 30-day out. As far as I know, Ms. Ross, that 30-day out is straight 30 days. We tell them 30 days, we want to start breaking ground. So we say 30 days, and then on that 30th day, 31st day, that means we can break ground, whether that's Sean Pickens or allowing disc golf to get in there. So I want to make sure I'm reading that right and that I'm not misreading that, because I think the better option for people, for the Harrods who have worked well with the city, upkept that community area over there, for them to have 5 years for the insurance purpose. We have a 30-day out. I'm still support. I hope that the disc golf will continue to be part, speak with Mr. Pickens, as well as the implementation, parks implementation that will be starting soon, and work on getting a disc golf in that area if it's feasible in the feasibility studies. I know they've shown us numbers and feasibility, but what myself and Commissioner Unger saw was a very rough area, and I can't speak for her, but what I can speak for myself is that it's going to take a while probably to get it where it needs to be. So I feel moving on with what the city has had in place 5 years, and if they get it done in a year, great, let's explore that. But it keeps them safe with insurance. It keeps us safe with them having insurance, and it keeps it clean, so it's not more work on our parks. So that's sort of where I stand.
Commissioner Unger?
Yeah, I appreciated that the tour of the property with Will Harrod and along with Commissioner Waldridge. It is 35 acres. I'd say there's definitely a portion that floods more than I had initially thought, which would make it difficult to get trails over there, because we do have a number of mountain bike trails at Capitol View Park already. I talked to one of our trail gnomes who currently works at Capitol View Park, who is part of KIMBA, the Kentucky Mountain Bike Association. He voiced to me that it would be difficult to carve in trails and to get over to that property. So I was glad to have that conversation before this meeting. I still like the idea of a shorter lease than 5 years. I do think it could benefit the citizens. It might take some time. It might take, feasibility study or figuring out what that financial impact could be to actually use that property. But we know we have motivated citizens. I said it last meeting. Kimba, motivated people. Disc Golf Association is motivated. Frankfort Striders are motivated. We have people that'll get out and work. So I'm not necessarily in favor of the 5-year lease. I would be open to the 2-year again, because I know that our lease with the state is up sometime in 23. Laura Ross, could you speak to what that date could be? And I don't know if we should sublease a property that would go beyond where our lease is currently with the state.
The attorney.
I do not have the state lease in front of me, but if you all will give me a minute, I can tell you the date specifically for renewal of that lease.
So right now we have an ordinance on the agenda for a 1-year lease. So do we want to discuss that one? Make a motion for that one, or?
I would move to approve the 1 year, and then we can address it again and extend it next year if needed.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the 1-year lease. I'm just looking for a second. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Good. Well, let's discuss this 1-year lease, which we are kind of already. So I do, I think it might make sense to not go beyond the state lease.
Yeah.
But and I do, I took a tour also, and it's going to take some work to, I can see it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time. I think it seems completely reasonable to extend this lease for at least a year with the Harrods. And they've been longtime stewards of the land anyway. I think they deserve to have some time. But
And I think I would agree. I would also agree with Lisa on that, and I did mention before that lease would be coming up. We've been working on that for a while, getting ready for that, and hoping that maybe we can work with the state in obtaining that piece of property. But definitely, whatever that lease is, I probably wouldn't want to go past that either. You see some of the other issues that across this town that we're still dealing with 20-year leases and 20-year contracts that are now affecting some of our decisions today. So I definitely wouldn't want to go past that contract time, even though if we can't obtain it, we will hopefully get another lease, but we don't know.
City Attorney, you have some information.
Apologies for having to look for that. It looks like it is December of 2023.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm all in favor of it. But one of the things that I wanted to, for me, the thought process, so long as I like the 30-day clause, and just wanted to say that I would be willing to go longer for the purpose of reducing, so long as the 30-day clause is there. Once we have something to actually continue to move forward with, I'm fine with it. Right now we have an idea, and I've said, and I'm fine to say it again. I do agree that as long as we have public land that could be used for public use, that we should do that. But we have an idea right now that I think is great and that we can move forward with. But I like for keeping things moving forward. Right now with the year-to-year lease with the 30-day clause, we still got to come back to the table every time and decide if that's how we want to move forward next year. And I think at the end of the day, the conversation for me is not, do I want the current people in control of the property that are leasing it from the city to have control of it or not? It's, well, what are we going to do with it? And if we don't have anything to do with it and this is working, continue to move forward with it. And if after 31 days or after 2 years or after 90 days, we have a legitimate way in which we move forward with a feasibility study, what it's going to take to make this project happen. And we know that we're coming down to that 90-day window, then a 60-day window, then a 30-day to, stop the contract. I feel good about that. To me, going year to year just feels like an opportunity for us to spend more time debating or talking about whether or not we're going to renew it. And for me, so long as we don't have a project in place ready to go, we've approved the staff time, the taxpayer money to make the project happen. Until we have that, it's hard for me to go down the path of saying, we need to grab it back. Just want to say that. So I would be comfortable with it going long. Sorry, I know we have a motion on the floor to approve the 1-year lease. Feel like that's a good. I'm okay with it going longer. Is what I want to say. So long as the 30-day clause is there, because I feel like that keeps the keeps the our constituents' best interest at play. It gives us the opportunity to, when we have a project that we can move forward on, that we're ready to go on, so that we're not having to use tax dollar monies to go on there now and start taking care of that property once we take possession of it and maintain control of it. That's my thought on it.
Commissioner Waters?
And I would like to agree, agree with Commissioner May. I think going longer, but I also agree with Unger that we should not go past our contract series right now. So I think a 2-year would probably work for that right now. And then if and when in the next 2 years, we do have that 30-day out, if disc golf moves forward. And then in 2023, when it comes time for us to re-sign our lease, we also need to travel back to see where we are. Oh goodness, I hope my computer does not start on. Sorry. For us to be able to then bring it back up and discuss then when we sign that lease on, if we're signing another lease with the state, then we can go back and look at the here at least to say, okay, so far nothing has happened, or maybe it has in 2 years, but at least it gives the disc golf people time to work with our parks director, implementation crew, to get something feasible in our hands that say they're moving forward, they're ready to break ground, things of that nature, support, sponsorships, whatever it takes within 2 years. And then we can revisit back if we need to do in 2 years and nothing has gone forward, or nothing is feasible, or maybe we find another better location for them. I don't know. Whatever that is, then we could maybe revisit back to a longer lease, since we do have that 30 days out.
Can I ask our city attorney, is there an issue of us going subleasing a property for longer than our leases with the state?
Yes, that would ultimately become an issue if for any reason our lease with the state were to not be renegotiated. I don't know that it is, a great matter of harm to go ahead and put that in there with the understanding that we are bound by the terms of that lease. So legally, no matter what we put in a sublease, if our lease were to end with the state, that would mean the sublease would end as well.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may add that.
Yes, go
sorry,
ahead.
Mayor. I was just going to say, at that point, if we were reaching a point where it looked like we were not going to continue with our lease with the state, we would need to exercise the 30-day out clause or work with the property owners on a similar solution.
Gotcha. So, from my standpoint, as long as we have the 30-day out clause, I don't know if it matters. If it's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. I guess it's perception. That's one thing. But I mean, if the simplest thing would be, since we have the 1-year lease in front of us, we could approve that and then revisit this next year and extend it at that point. Or if we wanted to, vote on this one, vote this one down, or we could amend the motion. Can we do that, city attorney, to amend this motion to make it a 5-year lease, and then for 2-year, we could do any of those things. But as long as we have the 30-day out, I don't know if it matters.
I think amending at least for it to be extended would be something that we could do.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner May?
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to say I'm all for that. To just kind of, simplify what I was talking about earlier, is I see it just as an opportunity to come back year over year to make another thing that we have to talk about, discuss. And as long as we have that 30-day clause, that 30-day clause is there. When we have something to vote on, when we have something that we can actually move forward to go with, ready to roll, that 30-day clause protects us. And I think that my concern with just the 1 year to year is extra steps if not needed.
Okay, so we have
Mr.
a-
Mayor, would it be appropriate if I address the commission? This is Attorney David Mary.
Good to see you, David Canary. Yes, go ahead. Representation for the Harrods, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for letting me speak. I'll be really brief, and certainly would want you to rely upon Ms. Ross's able guidance and counsel. But on behalf of the property owners, if you wanted to modify the motion to make it a 5-year lease with a understanding that it's canceled should the city's lease with the state not renew, that would seem to be a way to address Commissioner May's concern about not having to bring this back again, whether it's in a year or 90 days, or not have to get caught up having to, cancel 30 days before the state comes out. So I think we could build that cancellation provision in a way that makes it clear and everybody understands that it would only go forward if the state renews with the city, or the city acquires some other long-term interest, whether it's fee or leasehold in the property. That could be understood and I think stated.
And then also cancellation, a 30-day cancellation.
Certainly, that's already in the draft lease that we've seen, of course.
Okay. Right now, we still have a motion for to approve the 1-year lease. If anyone is interested, I'll entertain a motion to amend that motion. Yes, Commissioner Watt.
I would like to amend that motion.
To make it yes, Commissioner, City Attorney, you're going to help us.
I don't think it's amending the motion. I think that motion would have to be taken back off the table, reacted, and then a motion could be
That's the
made.
easiest.
Yes, if the easiest thing would just be to rescind that motion. And I actually, before Mr. Carnieri brought up the issue of the cancellation clause if we were not to renew, that's the motion I'm actually working on drafting. So if you all could, if you so choose to rescind the motion that's on the table, and give me just 1 second, I will get you language for a motion.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to rescind the motion.
Make a motion to rescind the previous motion.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion to rescind the motion to approve the 1-year lease. We have a second, Commissioner Thompson. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Raise your hand. I can see it. Okay. Any opposed? No. Okay. That motion carries. So we're back to the starting point. Since we have you on here, Mr. Canary, anything else you want to add? We're waiting on our city attorney.
Would just like to, again, thank the commission for taking this matter up. I know the Harrods have appreciated their long-standing relationship with the city, and we look forward to helping the city find a solution for a long-term acquisition of the park, both as the Harrods Council and as a lifelong citizen of Frankfort. I know that's everybody's goal, and my clients look forward to finding a way to make good use of these 35 acres on a long-term basis.
Yes, Ms. Ross.
I have sent you all a draft motion that you could utilize, Commissioner Waldridge, if that's helpful. I believe you were the one who was going to proceed with that. Did you get that? You're muted.
Commissioner Walters.
Yes, I'm opening it up now and I will look at that. So you want to approve the lease with the following amendments, replace the 1 year with a 5-year term, and add a clause stipulating that if the master lease with the state is terminated, the sublease will terminate on the same date as well. So that's what we want to add to that. Okay. All right. Well, Mayor, I make the motion that we replace the 1 year term with a 5-year term, add a clause stipulating that if the master plan lease with the state is terminated, the sublease will terminate on the same date.
I will second that.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Waldridge, second by Commissioner Thompson. Any discussion on this new motion? I'm just confirming that the 30-day out is still in there.
Mayor, if I may, we'll probably finesse that language just a bit to make sure it says exactly what we want. But the point of drafting the motion was to make sure that you all understood the intention of what it is that we want to do. And that's sufficient for the motion.
Perfect. Okay, any other discussion on this motion?
Call for a vote.
I'll see none, hearing none. I ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
I'm a yes, but I would like to explain my vote. That I do want to keep the ball rolling and communications going to see, if we can truly find a good use for the property for the citizens to enjoy one day. So, but I am a yes. Thank you. And thank you to the Harrods for all their work in keeping that property in good shape over the years.
Mayor Wilkerson.
And I'm a yes, and I'll explain. I do, like Commissioner Unger, I do think I want to work with the Disc Golf Association I do think I'm intrigued by that, and after seeing the property, I'd also like to see other alternatives too. Perhaps there's another place we can go, but I think we do support their efforts, so keep it up. So that motion carries.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mr. Denary.
Thank you, everybody. A lot of familiar faces and some new ones. So with everybody's permission, I'm going to excuse myself. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. And now we'll go on to action item number 6, Sustainable Strategies, DC contract.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The city requests authorization to renew the annual contract with Sustainable Strategies DC for 2022. The Andy Seth and Sustainable Strategies has helped us over many years to acquire lots of grants and seek out some new opportunities to support different programs and projects and infrastructure projects here in the city. So we would recommend approving the contract. We look forward to working with him and his team on getting grants from the new infrastructure bill and from other opportunities.
So moved.
Okay, motion to approve. By Commissioner Rogers. Okay, a second. Okay, any discussion on this contract renewal? Hope they keep up the good work. I think it's been worth it so far. So. Okay, seeing no more discussion, hearing none. Clerk?
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries. Moving on to action item number 7, sewer extension contract with 2020 Center LLC.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Actually, at this time, staff would ask the Board of Commissioners to table this item as we have not received the signed contract from 2020 Center LLC. We had expected to receive it, but since we have not, we would ask that you table it, and then we will bring it back once we receive the signed contract.
Mayor, I asked for this for number 7 sewer extension contract with 2020 Center LLC sewer to be tabled until February voting session.
Okay, motion to table this action item. Okay, and a second, Commissioner Unger. Any discussion on this? Okay. I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion, well, that's tabled until February. That's Commissioner Waldridge.
I had mentioned that for it to come to the voting session, but however, if they feel need to bring to the work session, then that could be something they could do as well, since we're just waiting on that contract, if it needs to be signed.
All right. We'll move on to action item number 8, industrial revenue bond.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to thank Laura Ross, our city solicitor. She worked extremely hard and with the attorneys at Prescient to find a solution to make this IRB work for everyone. And she really, of course, knows this agreement very well. So I'd ask her to summarize it for everyone and be available to give some comments. Thank you, Laura Ross.
Thank you. As you all know, at the January work session, we presented several options as directed for how to proceed with this particular project. I know there were some concerns raised, particularly by our fire chief regarding increased service costs related to runs that would have to be made to the facility. We have also discussed the desire of the board to return some property tax revenue to some of the other local districts, excluding the Franklin County schools, who have their own payment in lieu of taxes agreement. So we presented you all with an option that basically chose an amount that just seemed to be easy to calculate, and that would make sense going forward. That is equal to 1/2 of the occupational license tax that we will receive each year from Prescient. They will, of course, be making their full occupational license tax payment, but an additional payment that is just merely equal to 1/2 of the wage tax on the employees. So that is what an option we recommended. That is the option that you all directed us to proceed with. And that is what is before you in the payment in lieu of taxes tonight. We also have Alicia Boyd, our finance director, here if you have particular questions about the numbers and the calculations. We also have attorneys here on behalf of Prescient again that can answer any questions you might have about the project from their perspective. So just to continue with that. So what is before you is the resolution, basically as it has been originally presented this entire time, and the memorandum of agreement, also the payment in lieu of taxes agreement as an attachment. This does include the amendments that were previously made to account for the need to hit a job target within the first 5 years, the ability to cancel the bonds after 30 years if the city so chooses, and also the ability to terminate if operations were to cease at the facility.
We have an action item here in front of us. All right, well, resolution. Yes, Commissioner Waldridge.
I'm sorry, I'm not being able to pull it up right now, but I remember I read over this, and did we change this from a 40 to a 30, correct?
So what we did, and this was a decision that we discussed in previous one of the previous meetings. I'm not sure which one now, but
Okay.
what we did was, yes, it is still a 40-year term. However, the city has the option at 30 years to terminate the bonds.
So at 30, so the wording is still 40, but at 30 years, we can terminate if we so wish to do that.
That's exactly right. And we have not changed that provision at all since the last time you all agreed to it.
Okay.
Now, we could terminate for any reason after 30, but after
Yes.
5, we could terminate if they haven't hit the job, 90% of 75 jobs.
And
But
was
there
there
is no-
any,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
I was like,
apologize.
for the 10th year, perhaps maybe the jobs have fallen off. I mean, I guess then maybe they're down to 20 jobs. Then I guess that's just, we're not really protected there. But we have to be, I mean, I'm going into this optimistic. And I appreciate you working so hard, Ms. Ross, to put in these safeguards to make this a workable incentive for this project. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Waters.
I guess I had a question to see, like, you know, and them coming here, is there any way that, being that our fire department will now have another facility that they will be, is there any other way incentive to have back on our fire service, having, you know, another huge facility to now add into their surrounding area? Is there an incentive that we can attach to that? I'm sorry, Ms. Ross. I'm maybe asking for something that can't happen on an IRB. I'm not sure.
And Commissioner, I apologize. I'm not sure I exactly understand the question. So, are you saying an additional payment related to covering the cost of the runs, or covering the cost of the runs?
Will come from that, yes, because I mean that's going to, we're taking so much, you know, we are taking away from the city, and that's going to increase runs for our, I mean, our fire department there and things of that nature. Has that been considered, or is there a way for us to be able to do that, for us to be able to recoup something there for our fire services?
So actually, it's a good question, and the point of doing the payment in lieu of taxes that's before you all is in fact to recoup some of those costs that are associated with the runs. So what you'll see over the years as this project develops is an increase every year, a little bit in the occupational taxes that they will be giving to us, which means our payments will slowly increase over the years. But it will, that is actually the point of the payment in lieu of taxes. It's a payment to help us cover those service costs and provide some coverage for us while still making the project viable and cost effective for the company. But we will now get some of our costs back, and also hopefully be able to work with some of the other local taxing districts on their revenue needs.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure that that was included in that. So I've been reading too many contracts. So thank you.
Me too.
So wait, are we still waiting on a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion to approve. Looking for a second.
I will happily second this.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson, for the second. Okay, now the discussion about this particular ordinance and the changes. And again, thank you, Ms. Ross. And I know we didn't have a lot of time to turn this one around. And considering this is the first one, to my knowledge, the first one that the city of Frankfort has either considered or certainly adopted. So I think this is one where we're supportive of the project. We're supportive, of course, of economic development. That we, I think, did a good job in protecting the city's interest and giving us an out if it doesn't come to fruition the way we expect. And then also with this particular project, we know that there's going to be added costs based on history that I think we've negotiated that in there. So thank you, Ms. Commissioner Unger.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment before we vote. I too appreciate staff for working so hard, so diligently, really brainstorming on this, because we've, been pulled in many different directions unexpectedly. Stress has been high, but it also shows that we are pro economic development, but we also have to take into consideration that taxpayer money will be spent on services related to the new facility. If it does, and I hope it does open and is successful as the business plan showed that it can be. I think there's a market for it, and for the certain group of citizens that can't afford it and do need the facility. I think I just, I really want to be a good steward of our taxpayer money. And so this has been pretty heavy on my mind. And I personally would have preferred we had an application for IRB set up and a process in place before we sort of pushed forward. But I want to support staff and all of, the time and hard work that you've done on this. So I was a bit, I think it's a little unfortunate that this wasn't brought to us, the city, until October 11th. I wish the communication had started earlier. But here we are, and you guys have done a great job pulling this all together for us. So I just want to put that thank you out there before I vote.
Ms. Laura Ross.
Mayor, if I may, Commissioner Unger raises a good point. And I do want to point out that part of your direction to the city staff in the last meeting was to develop an application process and other policies and procedures going forward. We will definitely be doing that. We think we have learned a lot about IRBs and have done some research into other cities, and we will get a good process in place going forward that will hopefully make this less painless the next time one of these comes up.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson. Nope. And we
Nothing for me.
I don't see Commissioner May. We do now. All right. Well, any other discussion on this ordinance?
Apologize.
Okay. Seeing none or hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries. We adopted an IRB. Thank you. Moving on to action item number 9. Federal Transit Administration CARES Grant Transit Center Parking Garage Project YMCA Mitigation Memorandum of Agreement. It's a lot.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Staff is asking for the Board of Commissioners to authorize Vicki Berenberg, Laura Ross, and I as city signatories for the Memorandum of Agreement regarding the mitigation plan for the YMCA as part of the final steps to receive the Federal Transit Agency grant for the Transit Center. I just also want to ask, I think we're very excited that these are the final steps, but I do want to inform the commissioners too that next steps will be, if you authorize us to sign, we'll sign it and immediately send it to Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for their signatures. And after that, KYTC will send the executed agreement to the Federal Transit Authority and the Kentucky State Historic Preservation Office for signatures.
That's it, right?
Okay, motion to approve. Commissioner Unger.
Second.
Second, Commissioner May. Is there any discussion? We have Ms. Beerenberg is here. Any discussion? Questions? Not seeing none. City Clerk, will you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries. Thank you all for doing that. I believe that's the end of action items. Move on to unfinished business. Anything from last meeting? Seeing none. New business. Any new business? Commissioner Waters.
I just wanted to do my, for new business, I really just had my community shout outs for new business of appreciating our community in this. And I'd like to give a shout out to Piper Felt, who is at Collins Lane Middle School. Her and her team, they brought home the championship with their gymnastics team. They went in, they were at the Becca Beach party and they were the team championship. And she also brought home a lot of hardware herself. Also, Alex Witt with Western Hills High School. He brought home the gold medal in wrestling, which is pretty impressive. We'll go to our college students. Logan Hawkins, he's out, and we wish him the best of luck in participating in the 2022 Strike King Bass Master College Series. So he is a fisherman there at his university. Also, a local shout out to our state journal, Emily Perkins. She has come from the Harlan paper before she came to the state journal. She got 7 first place awards, 8 second place awards, and 6 third place awards in her writing while she was at the Harlan paper as well. And shout out to our state journals for those that have won as well in that area. And last but not least, Private PV2 Colton Perkins. He completed basic combat training and advanced individual training as a 88M motor transportation specialist with the Kentucky Army National Guard. So congratulations to everyone in Frankfort and Franklin County that I gave a shout out to. We're very proud of you and just giving a little spotlight to some things that our youth is doing and within our community. So thank you and congratulations.
Good. Any other new business? I guess we can move on to the next order of business, executive session.
Mayor, I move we move into executive session per KRS 61.810, subsection 1C, litigation, discussions or proposed litigation of the public agency related to past personnel matters. Action may be taken in open session.
We have a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. All good. That carries, and we'll go into executive session. we're now back in open session.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the settlement agreement with Keith Parker and authorize staff to take necessary steps to complete the terms of the settlement and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
Second.
There a motion and a second by Commissioner Thompson. Do we have any discussion on this motion?
That was not a second by Commissioner Thompson. That was Commissioner May.
Sorry, thank you. Commissioner May. Seconded. Okay. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Okay. Seeing none, clerk, will you please call for the vote?
Mr. Waldridge,
Mayor, actually, I'm going to recuse myself from this voting at this time due to I was on the last commission and I served while Mr. Parker was present. And I think it would just be best for me not to vote on this due to integrity or anything else that could follow after this vote.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson,
No, and I would like to explain my vote. I vigorously opposed this this settlement negotiation and request. I thought that the demand was absurd, considering the fact that there was a signed agreement between the parties, essentially releasing any liability. I do not think that Mr. Parker is owed any more money. And I made my feelings known back in May when we first discussed this, and some 7 months later, it comes to fruition. I'm very very sorry that the board has made this decision.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right, we're now adjourned. See you next time.